Hey yo, everybody, we're back. and today we've got a brand new episode of All American on this fine Monday. And for today's video, it's definitely going to be an interesting one where instead of kind of talking about something and, having you guys listen in, I'm going to be answering your guys' questions for today's video. And, this is definitely, obviously there's some good questions that I received, and I'm definitely hoping that I'm able to get to as many of you guys as possible. But anyways, let's kind of hop into this, so that we can get some perspective on how I see things in this show. And if you guys don't like my opinions, that's fine. Just feel free to let me know what you guys think about it. But if you do agree, then let's have a good time with this and hop right into it. So for the first question in this Q&A here today, I got one that said, do I think Crenshaw will be able to make the playoffs this season? And this is basically my response. And also you can check out a few of these questions that I'm about to read off in my Instagram stories. Just check out my page, All Day All American, and I stated my answers there as well. But so for this first question, do I think Crenshaw will make the playoffs? I think they will. And, I've kind of said this before, but I think that, I feel like if they weren't to make the playoffs, then that would just kind of take away some of that suspense about whether or not they would be able to save the school or not. And, I think if they don't make the playoffs, if it turns out that they lose this game, this next game or, something like that, then, I'm kind of curious to see if they're still able to do something, along the lines of helping save the school, even if they're not able to make a run at state. Because, if they don't make the playoffs, then you feel like, okay, there's definitely no way that, there's no way that it's not going to be a magnet school next year. And, like I said, even though Spencer won't be there, it would just be a big hit for the community and everything, So, for the most part, I just think that, obviously they have big things to do. And, I do think they'll make the playoffs. And, it'll be interesting to see how far they can make it in the playoffs, assuming they get there. Hopefully, you obviously hope that they're able to make a run at state and everything, to have a shot to save the school, because obviously you don't want to put a school that just won a state championship as a magnet school, So it'll definitely be interesting, and I'm kind of curious to see how this goes. But, I do think they'll make the playoffs, to answer the question. I just think it's, it would take away some of that suspense of, not having a shot to save the school and, pretty much just knowing what's going to happen, especially with how many episodes we still have left to go, So just let me know what you guys think. And again, to whoever asked this, I can't quite remember, but thanks for tuning in, and hopefully you're able to get a listen in on this, and kind of figure, get to a point where you understand what my opinion is, and if you agree with that or not. It's okay if you don't. I'm always interested in hearing some other opinions. So, all right, moving on now to our next question here of this episode, and this was definitely an interesting one. What are your hopes for Spencer and Olivia moving forward? And this was definitely an eye-opening question. It's obviously something that we all have our eye on, here in this, in this series. And, obviously Spencer and Olivia being together has always been one of the main things throughout, especially this season, But to answer the question, what are my hopes for them throughout, pretty much in terms of their relationship and everything. I've kind of talked about this in some of my other videos, so check those out if you haven't already. But, for the most part, obviously, I hope after what we saw happen at the end of episode 9, that they're in a good place, and have been able to, kind of confront one another about, where they stand and how they can make this work still despite what happened in that episode, and I kind of said it in I believe my episode 9 breakdown, like my reaction and breakdown, that, once they get back to 100%, I think they'll be able to reconnect, and get back to one another, and hopefully that kind of kindles a relationship in a way. But, I'm definitely hoping that's what happens. Just let me know what you guys think about it. And, I'm kind of, in terms of like their timetable, if you will, I'm definitely kind of thinking that we'll probably see some things go down here in this episode tonight, with the Black Lives Matter movement. And, I have seen some promo pictures, that include Spence and Liv. So, hopefully we'll kind of see a moment with them wherein, they're either able to make things right after what happened a couple of episodes ago, in case they haven't already, or, I just kind of make it clear to each other that it's not over yet. And, Spencer knows that, but Olivia, she kind of seemed to think it might be over a couple of episodes ago. So, we'll just have to wait and see. And I'm really hoping that whatever happens is what's best for them moving forward, because obviously their relationship is kind of the main thing we look out for in terms of the series at the moment. Obviously there's a lot of things going on, but, out of, in terms of things we're most passionate about, I think this is one of them, so, all in all, that was a good question. And, I'm really hoping that they're able to get on track and, hopefully have a relationship at some point before the end of the season, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see a scenario wherein like they get together for season 4, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And, like I said, hope for the best for them, because obviously they're a vital point to where the series stands. And, I feel like in a scenario, and I've kind of said this before, but I feel like in a scenario wherein we don't see them try to go for it, or walk away from one another, then, it'd definitely be a bummer. And, you just wouldn't want to see that. And I think the show's ratings would go down, to be honest with all of you. But, just let me know what you guys think. And, let me know what your guys' hopes are for Spencer and Olivia, throughout pretty much the duration of this season, so it'll definitely be interesting. And I'm curious to see what happens here in these next episodes. So, all right, moving on now to our next question of the day. And this is definitely kind of an interesting one, I think, in terms of what might be ahead for Coop. And, this question I'm about to reveal is, how do I think Mo will kind of get her revenge on Coop, even though Coop wasn't the one who killed Tyrone. It'll definitely still be interesting to see how it goes. So, obviously in the last episode we saw that it looks like Mo may not be who we thought she, appeared to be. And, obviously it looked like she had definitely changed and became a person who was all about change and, was non-profiling, which is pretty much what Coop had been doing to her. But, obviously after we saw Coop apologize and everything, we saw some guy walk up to Mo and he's like asking about what happened. And, she goes on to say she finally turned her guard down. And, that was just, it was big, obviously. And, I kind of talked about this in my episode 10 breakdown. So if you haven't seen that, feel free to check it out. But anyways, Mo just had like this long plan of waiting to get revenge. She was gonna get it at one point or another. And, I've seen some people say, it's kind of a weird situation wherein she's plotting against this 17-year-old high schooler, but anyways, I feel like, Coop doesn't deserve all that. She didn't, like I said, she didn't kill Tyrone. And, I think Mo, I think she understands that, but it's like, she feels like Coop was one of the main, plot points in terms of his death. And, I feel like it's definitely kind of part of why she's going after her. But, anyways, kind of back to the question here. The question was if if I can see Mo going after her friends, as a result of getting at Coop, or will we just see her go straight at Coop, to just get that revenge straight? And my answer to this, and this is kind of, this is definitely an interesting one, and it's a really good question. But I think initially, when we didn't know what Mo's intentions were, I could have seen her going after her friends, to get at Coop, to kind of put her at a crossroads, when it came to, giving her what she wants and everything. But I think at this point, Mo has made it clear that she's helped some of her friends along the way, like Patience, with the whole contract with JP and everything, So I don't necessarily see this being the scenario here wherein Mo goes after her friends. I think it's just straight Mo's going to confront Coop and, make something happen, and it's probably not going to be good. But, hopefully Coop is able to get through this. Hopefully she's able to get through it without dying, But obviously there's big implications for Coop, She has a big future in music, and she's still trying to graduate high school. But it would definitely be interesting if we see a scenario wherein she does die as a result of this. And of course we could see Mo die. We obviously, she's not the person you're rooting for in this scenario, so it'll definitely be interesting to see. And I'm curious to see how Mo does decide to get revenge, going back to the question. But as I kind of mentioned, I'm thinking she'll just go straight after Coop and avoid the whole threatening her friends route, So let me know what you guys think. I'm definitely curious to hear some other opinions on this. And, just let me know in general, are you surprised with Mo's kind of direction here in these recent episodes? And, it's definitely a lot. Like I said in my last episode, I'm definitely a little bit surprised with that. I did think Mo had changed a little bit, but, obviously it's clear that she just had a plan to wait for Coop to just let it go in a sense and, kind of make something happen based on that. So, all right, moving on now, and to the next question we've got here today. And this is definitely kind of an interesting one in terms of what might be next for Jordan and Simone's marriage. And this question asked if I was on Simone's or Laura's side in terms of the whole hospital situation wherein the doctor was trying to feed them information about him. And, Laura kept reading her questions, but Simone cut her off by asking, or by basically confronting her that, the doctor's trying to let them know what's going on with him. And, she just keeps reading her list of questions. So obviously we saw them getting in a little argument, and that's when we see Simone come out as Jordan's wife, and that, they're married and everything, obviously. So, Billy and Laura were just shocked in that moment, and so were Spencer and Olivia sitting there, like they can't believe she just said that to him. And, anyways, the question based on in terms of whose side I was on, Simone's or Laura's, I was definitely kind of on Simone's side in this scenario, because Laura was just asking way too many questions and wouldn't allow the doctor to give them an update. But, I think I agree with Simone when she says, the wife trumps the parents in this situation, and that, she just wants an update from her husband's doctor, and, in terms of how Laura handled things, like when after she was talking to Spencer and Olivia about how they knew about it. But, I think that, Laura clearly, obviously she has a problem with the marriage, and we're probably going to see something in future episodes. But, I definitely agree with Simone. I'm kind of on her side, I should say, because I think that, she makes a really good point in this whole situation wherein she has a right to know as much as they do, and I think that, Simone is a really good person, and she has a really good marriage going with Jordan, I think. And, I'm just really hoping that Laura doesn't take this route by deciding to force them to get a divorce. And, I don't know if I see this happening because, Laura doesn't seem to have a great relationship with Simone in terms of, seeing her as her son's wife, but it's definitely interesting, and I'm curious to see how this goes. I'm really hoping they don't get a divorce. I do like Simone, but I'm curious to see what happens, and I think if they do get a divorce, this could very well set up Simone's spinoff and, just Jordan's future in general. So, which of course we don't know what's ahead for Jordan, but, it'll definitely be interesting. And, obviously the Jordan and Layla rumors are still kind of going around, but I do like Jordan and Simone. They can tell that they're clearly happy together, and, hopefully they don't have to get it annulled, with the fact that it appears that Laura is clearly upset, and I don't really know Billy's take on the whole situation, but, after all, Laura lives with Jordan, Jordan lives with Laura, but you guys get what I'm trying to say, so, just let me know what you guys think about this whole situation. Whose side were you guys on, Simone's or Laura's? Again, I was kind of on Simone's, she knew what she was doing, and, she wasn't afraid to come out with their marriage and, state that, she has a right to know as much as they do, and it was definitely nice to see her just kind of sticking up for herself, so, again, just let me know what you guys think, and, I'll try my best to get back to you as always, so, all right, moving on now, and, this is the last question I've got from the Instagram stories. And this is definitely kind of an interesting one, and I'm curious to see how this goes. And the one we'll be covering here is, do I see Asher and Vanessa getting together? It's definitely something that's not necessarily the main thing we look out for when we watch, but it could definitely make things a little bit dramatic on the Beverly side of things if it turns out that they do. And basically my answer to this is that I do think they could eventually get together. It's just the main thing is, will there be any drama as a result of this? And, it's definitely interesting because, obviously JJ is in a position where he likes Vanessa and, doesn't really seem to like the fact that she and Asher have a good thing going. But, all in all, I don't really care about this all that much. Obviously, Asher is in a position where he hasn't been single for that long, and Vanessa's transferred there at the start of the season, but I'm definitely curious to see what happens, and I feel like either way it goes, it's definitely going to be interesting, because if they don't get together, then it's definitely gonna just keep things kind of where they are right now, wherein there's still a thing between them, but they haven't had the will to act on that. But, if they do get together, then I'm curious to see what, JJ's reaction might be and, how, maybe Coach Montez, even as well. So it'll definitely be interesting, and I'm curious to see what happens. But, it'll definitely be interesting to see, kind of like I mentioned earlier. So, just let me know what you guys think about this. Do you see Asher and Vanessa getting together? Even with the strings that might be attached with that, in terms of their relationships with other people that have been involved, mostly consisting of JJ, but maybe Coach Montez as well. But it's definitely interesting, and I'm curious to see what happens. And like I said, it's not the main thing we watch out for, but it'll definitely be something to keep an eye on moving forward. So. All right, and with that thought, that's about all the questions I've got from the Instagram stories, but just let me know what you guys thought of all the things I brought up there, and, just feel free to let me know what, your guys' hopes are for the rest of the season in terms of everything we talked about, and, feel free to just go for it as always. I'm not going to call you out or anything like that. If I think you're wrong, let's just have a civil discussion about it and, talk about why you might think that could be the best case scenario, so it's definitely interesting, and curious to see what happens. So kind of moving on now to some questions about this episode, and, because obviously the questions I just went over are kind of based on what I about kind of in terms of the rest of the season, but in terms of this next episode, there's definitely some things that we're gonna have to keep an eye on, and they're definitely interesting. So let's kind of get into those here now. And the first question I've got is how close do I see Grace and Principal Carter becoming here throughout this possibly starting in this episode here tonight, and how that might affect the show moving forward. So, I think this might be because in the synopsis we heard that Grace finds out something about Principal Carter that presents him in a different light, and this is definitely kind of interesting. And I think that whatever she does find out, it could be good, it could be bad, but I think whatever she does find out, if it's something along the lines of, something he has been trying to do or something like that for a long time, then maybe we'll start to see Grace reflect on some of that. And, I'm curious to see, I've seen some people say, I think this might be an episode wherein we see the two of them become closer, and, kind of a moment wherein we realize that Principal Carter is committed to something other than just, shutting down Crenshaw. But, it's definitely interesting. I'm curious to see how they go about, could we see them develop something throughout the duration of this season? And, if they do kind of kindle something, how will that affect Crenshaw moving forward? That's definitely a big talking point. And, if football doesn't work out, that maybe this could, so it's definitely something to keep an eye out for. And, in terms of going back to the question here, how close could I see them getting, throughout this episode and the duration of the season? I do think we'll see some moments between them in this episode after she finds out about him, and, it could set something up, so just let me know what you guys think. I'm definitely curious to hear what you guys have to say, and feel free to just go for it as always. All conversation is welcome here today. So all right, moving on, and this is kind of the last thing I want to talk about here today, but what are my hopes for the Black Lives Matter movement in this next episode? And how do I basically, how do I find a scenario wherein this helps what our real world is experiencing, So basically my answer to this is that, obviously I'm hoping that the Black Lives Matter movement in this episode is able to kind of help people realize that this has been a never-ending fight to this point to, get justice for blacks. And, I think this is definitely something that a lot of people need to take in, being kind of with the situation that we've got going on. And, I said this in my preview video, but, I think this is definitely a good platform to talk about this on. All American has definitely become a very widely popular show, and, I think this will be a good shot, like I was kind of saying before, to make people aware of everything that's going on, and, kind of make people realize that it needs to have a stop put to it, and, just kind of come together as one to resolve this issue. But, overall, that's kind of my hope for this episode in terms of the Black Lives Matter movement. And, I'm curious to hear what your guys' hopes are in terms of this movement, and, all the basically all the stands, for Tamika, and everything. So I'm curious to see what happens. And, again, just let me know what your guys' hopes are for this. So it's definitely a big topic, and it'll kind of be the main talking point for this next episode. So, all right. And with that thought, I think we've just about reached the point in this episode where I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. And, as always, feel free to just go for it. I'm not going to call you out or anything. All discussion is welcome. And, just keep it civil. Don't don't want anybody getting into any heated arguments over what we go over. So, with that thought, if there's anything you thought I may have missed here today, feel free to let me know, and I may make another video for it. or, just in general, if you think there's something you would like to hear me talk about, just let me know down in the comments, or, message me on Instagram or something like that. I'm always interested in hearing what you guys would like to see, and, I'll try my best to get working on it. So, feel free to like and share this video, and while you're at it, subscribe to the channel. I'd definitely really appreciate it. It's definitely something we hope to see a lot of, and hopefully we can get this channel going in the right direction. So, anybody who likes All American will enjoy this channel. I can guarantee it. So, as always, just let your friends know, let your family know, and, let's come together and have some talks about what we look forward to in All American. So, with that thought, this has been Austin Bielik, as always, from All Day All American, bringing you All American videos for the duration of Season 3, and it's definitely going to be a big one. We got an episode tonight, episode 11, Black Lives Matter. It should be a good one, but let me know what your guys' hopes are, and with that thought, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next one. But before I let you guys go, I would just like to say to feel free to check out my Instagram page. The link is in the description. Where I usually try and give you guys updates about when we'll be uploading a new video, and as well as if we may experience any delays or cancellations, or anything of that sort. So just let me know, and feel free to hit that up, and until next time, we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.